So then then you just get diagnosed. You're like, yeah, I knew, like, so 96% of self-diagnoses are correct.
Okay. All right.
Like, no one will say, oh, I've got ADHD it's more of like, because they've read so much about it, they'll be like,
They know.
finally,
fits.
I feel like I belong with the community now.
Yeah.
Because I've been weird all my life, you know? I mean, I always hung out with the nerds and the gamers, right? So,
All right.
which are usually people that are ADHD or autistic. Like, that's just, it is what it is. And there's the stigma of like having ADHD or autistic being dumb. Not the case. Most likely, they're usually much higher IQ than neurotypicals, and they can see the world through a very different lens. So someone who's autistic as a data analyst would be kick-ass. Someone who's in sales at ADHD will outperform anyone else. Why? Because of that energy, the hunter aspect. Like you're literally preying on the client and trying to bag them, and that's your chase. So you're constantly chasing that dopamine hit of I close the sale onto the next one, I close the sale onto the next one. And most people who do sales stick to sales. They would move industries, but they would stick within the sales environment. And then once you get diagnosed, there's the grieving process, and it's incredibly difficult. I was diagnosed in late February, and I think up until April I was still very about it. And then I looked it up, and there is a grieving period, because especially in adult stage, like in adult, like what's it called? Adult stage diagnosed ADHD or whatever, something. I'm not sure exactly what the trope is, because I haven't thought about ADHD in a while now, actually, because I'm like over it. Like it's just part of who I am. I've learned how to manage certain things. I learned how to control it through a lot of training.
Okay. I was going to ask, how has your life changed since your diagnosis?
Yeah, so I'll talk a bit about the grieving process, because that builds up to how it changed. But if we're talking about the grieving process, is that what if I got diagnosed earlier on? What if I knew?
Okay.
Because a lot of ADHD is a lot of criticism. A lot of ADHD people, I hear this, and I heard it for sure. Very smart, lot of potential, but struggles to focus. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're putting me in with everyone else, that's what's going to happen. But if you give me the right environment, I will thrive, and I will probably most likely outperform everyone else. And which is what I did. I had that, like, when I was in sales environment, I was always top 2, top 3, right, out of all of the call centers in the UK when I was as an agent. If you give me a goal, I'm going to smash it. I'm not going to just I'm going to smash it. That's what I'll obsess about it until I'm actually the best at it, right? And you'll see that trait very common with most ADHD people. But then put me down and ask me to take notes of something boring or repeat something, I'm dead. Like, it's just like Einstein said that if you just judge a fish on its ability to ride a bicycle or climb a tree, it's always going to be an idiot.
Put in the right environment where you can thrive. So playing by your strengths.
So there's that grievance of, if I knew I was ADHD and I was given that guidance by someone else, like even now I just feel emotional talking about it. If I had the opportunity to seek like-minded people who have the same struggles and understand that I'm not alone, I would have had a much easier childhood, a much easier early adult life, because I was criticized for stupid shit that I couldn't control. Like, you're always like this, you're always super hyper, you can't sit at your chair. Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to do? It's just my brain's not letting me. I literally can't sit. Now I train so much that I would love to sit. Like, I love to sit down, but I'm just constant pain, But that's obviously the aspect.